Hey folks, this is Andy here. As you can see, I have some of my coffee supplies on the counter. I've had some friends ask me recently to make a video of some of the coffee experiences that I've had recently, things I've been learning. As a lot of people know, I roast my own coffee. Most of the coffee we get in the stores, including Starbucks and some of the fancy coffee, it could be months old, and coffee actually goes stale even if it's in an airtight container. One thing people notice, I think I've posted some pictures on Facebook, but I do coffee roasting with green beans. You can see here I got some Brazilian beans from the farmer's market in Trenton Farmers Market there, and these are Brazilian. And I often use or I always use the West Bend Poppery 2 corn popper. It's the best popper on the market to actually roast coffee in, and it's a pretty common thing for people to do. Unfortunately, you can't get this on the market anymore, except for maybe eBay or some other auction site. They don't make poppers like this anymore, and this particular one was really good. Usually it has a hood over it, plastic hood, that you can see the popcorn or the coffee beans in this case through, but as many coffee entrepreneurs will tell you, that it's easy to start a fire or get things a little too hot when roasting coffee, and I melted the top of mine. So anymore I usually just use a metal bowl that sits on top and allows the air to flow through and everything else. Don't think you can just use any kind of popcorn popper. You can see the little vents at the bottom there, those little ridges. This actually moves air through it as well as roasting the coffee, so it keeps things moving and spinning and roasting and air through it constantly, and that helps out a lot there. Well, let's get started here. Let's show you some other things that's important about coffee. So one thing is fresh coffee. We talked about that. That's why I roast my own. The other thing is water temperature. Whenever you're roasting or making coffee, you want the temperature to be around 195 degrees or so. You can see I've got our old beat up kettle here, and I got a little thermometer. We're at 198 right now, which is a pretty good temperature to make coffee with. Another important part of making coffee is actually the grind. Most people here are most used to these kind of coffee grinders, and this was actually a decent coffee grinder for a long time that I used, but it has a blade, and blade coffee grinders are not the best to be using when making coffee. It actually ends up pulverizing the beans, even though I've got probably almost 15 settings on here on how to grind my coffee. After a while it just doesn't work very well. You get chunks as well as very fine powder, and that gets into the coffee. What I bought this last week is a Hario coffee grinder, and it's actually a burr grinder. And a burr grinder means basically it's kind of like a stone grinder. This has ceramic discs in it that actually grind the coffee and makes a very consistent grind. And there's a little nut at the inside the base here that you can actually turn, and it changes the course of the grind, so it makes it finer or larger grind. Okay, coming up here, what we're doing here is one of my favorite coffee makers here. This is a pour over style coffee maker, and this is actually from Sweet Maria's. You'll see on there. It's a great website for anyone that's interested in learning more about coffee roasting and coffee brewing, and also just a place where to buy great beans that are fresh as well. And coffee pours like this, what they do is you actually put the hot water in there with the coffee, and it kind of brews and infuses inside here. And this one actually has a little latch at the bottom of it. You put it over a cup of coffee, and it actually releases the water into that. Most pour over brewers have a small hole in the bottom of them where the water just drips out slowly, and so it doesn't stay inside there, but it does drip slowly enough to infuse. The other coffee brewer I have here is called the AeroPress. This is something I just got this week too, and some friends were commenting on it. And this is a great brewer. I'm actually liking it. It's really good for espresso especially. And you take these little paper filters in this one, and you put it in there, and you screw it on the bottom. And from here, what you can do is you put your coffee in here in the hot water, and as it brews, you actually push this plunger through and squeeze the coffee and the water through the grinds into your cup. And it actually works out really well. It's very good. So I'm going to pause the video here real quick, and we're going to get some coffee making here, and I'll show you what it looks like.